a self-empowered woman. We know that there are no guarantees in relationships and that they're all a possibility. So, for one, some of us are solo polyamory, and that is something to specify sooner than later because otherwise a person's going to find themselves in an unfaithful situation. Oh, I love how people like to use words, and I don't like to use them, but then again, I do. I just don't use buzzwords. So, polyamory is loving more than one person in a non conventional friendship way. And I have a lovely book. It's called Polysecure for anybody who's interested. Also, as a 5D mystic in the Enlightenment Soul Age group, I'm going to be a woo woo person to some people because they don't believe in mystics, right? And here's where bringing human, spiritual, and spirituality elements, which are all a bunch of different subject matters together, also makes me the lovely pseudoscience lady. But focusing and supporting people on personal development and self help for being yourself is really fun. So I get to be me and you get to be you because emotional accountability, awareness, and self regulation is what we do. Now, I got lucky. I have secure attachment. I'm a differentiated self, no rupture from my restorative embodiment, self aware body and life. Oh, and I'm attachment trauma informed, and I keep getting my educational stuff. But see, I don't present it in a certain way, which we'll talk about in a minute because I want to finish up saying something from a previous video that I'm not sure which one's going to go on first. But this would be where those of us who know what we want, we are inflexible, unflappable, and it's not the same as split thinking, which is of an adaptive child, the black and white thinking. Okay, so the non-negotiable, which is where they can slam a door and you're done. They give you the silent treatment, just so that we're being clear. But on the external, it will look like the same. And if you're a person who doesn't know how to speak to me, and you go and ruminate in your brain, and you have what are unhealed 1 year old attached panicky, unhealed 3 to 7 shame submissive, unhealed freeze of all ages, unhealed 11, 12-year-old flight, and unhealed 14, 15, 16, which means that you have trauma charges that are still coming up whenever you're interacting with another person. I'm going to notice your maladaptive child behavior. And so the basic shame, blame, fault, and revenge cycle. And there's Cusco's and squirrels. And then we got Sids and Diegos and Manny's. I'm a pacha. I shake your hand. I say I love you. I mean it, which is why, again, relationship isn't a guarantee. It's a probability and a possibility, really. And what I'm going to say is I love to build secure connections as a solo poly. Okay, so I build a secure connection because I'm my own safe haven, secure base, which is why solo poly. That means you know how to regulate your own nervous system like I do when I have my panic attacks. And ever since I've started to have them, not because I had to, no, because I'm grounded in my body and I did all the checkups and I still do that I needed. And I already knew about the ascension energies because I'm a 5D mystic. Again, I'm a channeler. I'm a Akashic record reader. I'm a Reiki master. I'm a holistic person. I'm a tarot card reader. Things that are woo-woo for those who don't believe in it, but things that are energy for the 5D mystics, okay? So we don't use the ancient stories as if they're a truth. We understand that they help us to understand other aspects. And really what you're going to see as the years move forward are the ones that are integrating like I do. And I've noticed them already, which is really great. So like crystals, they have properties. Our geologists help us understand why their properties support our body. Like there's a set of crystals, I forget what they're called, but it's a necklace. And I bought it in a specific year because of the properties of that specific crystal, and it was in fact for complete emotional the emotional layer. I always forget the organized, but that's because there was a lot of human suffering going on and fear and a bunch of ascension energies, and I knew what crystal I needed because I started to get learned on that. And I'm going to put that to the side because I know we're talking about self-empowered women relationships, and here's the thing, men, women, days. So for me, it's about men, and we'll get tangible again. Apologies for those of you who are the woo-woo stuff. I want to try and keep it organized so that I don't lose any of you. So the probabilities, what's a probability? For one, if I and you, I and you are going to build a home, we're going to talk about it consistently. This is a guarantee. And if that begins to not happen, then I'm going to know there is no probability. I'm going to know that we're not building a home together. I don't need to ask you. This is going to be clear cut. I'm not going to react to that because a secure attachment body is what a healthy self-worth woman is. I don't need a therapist. I know a lot of people say everybody needs a therapist. I've heard that. I do personal development and self-help because there's what comes after therapy. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because some people don't realize that some of us have a good relationship with our emotional plane. Emotions are soft for me, Maria, so are my thoughts, because that's what the inner growth mindset is all about. Get to the advanced place, you'll get to neutrality and duality, you'll get to inflappability. Getting to your restorative embodiment, not hard. I've done it and I consistently do it. And again, it's not a competition, but it's very possible. And that's because I have been watching my tone since I've been mentioned my tone since I was a kid, because I have a tone. I have a 3-year-old tone with my mother. I still do. Just ask her about it, and my twin. So again, I know what a 3-year-old tone sounds like. The difference is I got lucky. So I got lucky because I have a beginning to my 3 years, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that are great, and 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And I'm a person who likes to use my thoughts. I'm a creator, content creator. So I'm welcoming, and I also unite, and I like to have all people that are wanting to behave within the reason of the law. Don't come to me if you don't want to respect the law. Other than that, depends. Don't bring violence. Don't bring me physical violence, right? Don't do anything that gives me the idea of you having the physical danger. Now, bring me a maladaptive child behavior. That's going to be a completely different story. I will not be kicking you out. I will be talking to you, because I will hold you. As you learn from lovely Terrio, we hold ourselves the way we were held. I will talk to you the way I was talked to, and I was held and still am held with equanimity and, again, explanation and all that stuff. So you cannot heal trauma with the wrong people, and that's where the IHP community is made of people who are inner child adults. So one, you know about your trauma charges if you have any, and you easily get yourself into the space of wanting to do the emotional lifting, self-regulating awareness. There's plenty of mindfulness exercises, reflective exercises, and there's universal love messages and transmission sessions. But my point is, you say yes to thinking and feeling in a space of love, bliss. Not, it's too hard. I want to vent for the rest of my life. I want to be the bitch who says anything. It's okay. This is why we have groups. There are people who want to be able to be in that energy. And I know the venting. I chose to disengage from venting as I got older. So some of us, we just organically move towards what your body wants to return home to its actual origin, the restorative embodiment self. It knows of it. And that's how it gets explained in my attachment trauma somatic courses, okay? So the brain too, but I don't have any fragmentation. I don't have any of the ruptures. I don't have any of the consciousness barriers or memory barriers that are also healable, because your brain is, I believe the word is an organ, and with mindfulness and yoga, you can work with a good therapist, and self-help can be there too, but good therapists are important because they know about these consciousness barriers and memory barriers that I learned about from Daniel Siegel in my course, Disorganized Attachment and Dissociative Identity Disorder. And it is a very, very sensitive topic, not because we can't support. I always ask, I'm a content creator, I'm a consultant. How do I know once I've assessed something, but I'm not an official therapist, what do I do? How do I handle it? And they always have said the same thing. You'll know if you need more support, and you know where to find us. Okay, so relationships, not guarantees. They are probabilities. How those relationships unfold are always secure connections for the people who are functional adults, and safe havens, secure base for themselves. Our gut is good, and that's why. As long as you represent no physical threat, you don't represent an emotional threat, because I have what's called confidence. You insult me, I'm not going to be, oh my gosh, you insulted me. It's more of, okay, that is not going to fly with me, so do we want to talk about it or not? Which one is it? And that's about it. I also won't feel that I owe you anything, as you won't owe me anything either when we're having disagreements on something that's important. It's called disagreement for a reason. So nobody loses or chips away at anybody's worth when there's a secure attachment, functional adult, a person who's regained their inner child, for those who did do the good therapy, and is their adult self. So we don't tolerate it either. We don't tolerate it because, again, it's a choice for people how to calibrate their nervous system. And if they don't notice that their dysregulation, their dysfunctional nervous system, that their maladaptive child behavior is actually something that can be worked on, it's because they choose to watch movies like Hangover and Mean Girls and think that that's what relationships are all about. When people say we have to wear boxing gloves, no, I'm not wearing boxing gloves. You have to be careful. They might lie to you. That means I'm going to learn that you're a liar and that you have a 3-year old that doesn't know how to tell the truth, because you need probably to figure out what happened if you're lying like that. You don't know how to, again, address me. It's because you were addressed in a certain way, so I can present that to you. Okay, so self-empowered women, again, we know how relationships, they don't guarantee anything. They are probabilities, and we will make sure to build those relationships, to build the ones that are with snow people, mer people, that respect our thoughts and our emotions, and that when we want to not project but bring them to you, you're going to have the capacity to open your heart. My heart's open, your heart's open, because that's what intimacy is all about. And intimacy means you don't lie to me. It also means you don't hide things from me, and I don't hide things from you, and there's no need. We have lovely Dr. Daniel Fox. He's great for any one of you who might know a narcissist, if you know a borderline personality, or bipolar, if you know a highly sensitive person, if you know any of those personality disorders. He humanizes them and gives proactive ways for anyone to work with their inner conflict, which he calls the inner family in your head. So every therapist that is great, like Patrick Dehan for childhood trauma survivors, he's great too with proactive tips. And they support people who are wanting to move out of the maladaptive child. So they don't come to you and say, you can't do that because you just triggered me. You just triggered my emotional trigger. And now I'm going to come and tell you about it. That's not a person who's healing. That's more of a person who says, I'm going to stay this way. And you know what? Screw that. Okay, you can stay that way. See you later, alligator. It's good. You get to choose how to be in your body, and I'm going to choose how to be in mine. And as long as we follow the rules and the laws, then everybody's good. This is the part of where, when I've heard the word enabler, I find it very insulting. And I find it insulting, though, at the same time, I've learned to become neutral and remember the mantles of mental health. They're a mantle, they're facades. Mantles of yoga, facade again. Mantles of spirituality, facade again. And as I remember the word facade, I recalibrate myself. Thank you, God. Humbleness. Yep. Grandiosity, not mine. Nope. Shame, not mine again. What's low self-esteem, Maria? It's a facade. Okay, let's recalibrate some more. And you continue recalibrating until you shut that left mode up, because none of my business what you want to do with your core content, which involves shame, it involves blame, it involves fault, it involves all of that poor inner child that is in a pent up energy that is not my nervous system, because I know exactly how beautiful life is. Because I have nothing to be in an interaction about that involves my sympathetic. We have different opinions. I don't need my implicit bias, cultural, political, religious to come on up. I don't need my ideas, my own personal anything to get charged up. Why? It's not personal, as teenagers love to tell me. And I'd be like, yeah, it's not. So the more you learn how to sit in the land of Jacob personality. Thank you, Rabbi. This rabbi taught me about these different personalities. Jacob is the objective one. And that's when you're in your prefrontal cortex. And I bring in Krishna Lila to get curious. Krishna Lila explores the depths of seriousness with playfulness. And so the more you can bring in the aspect of, I am a life connected to another life, and I have a person who's not calibrating in their ventral vagal nervous system. They have an energy that is in low self-esteem, and they've chosen, apparently, that they want to consistently be in it because they're interacting with me with it, So the part about us attuning to each other is that where I'm open, present, curious, trying to attune to you and have an enjoyable time, if you're not doing the same, I'm going to pick it up. You're not going to pick up anything, because that right mode, mine is where I'm accessing all of my container. And then my chit chatter's not working. I'm looking at you, so I'm picking up on you. but because I'm a clear filter, if you will, and as I'm picking it up, I'm asking myself one question alone. Did you feel like this 2 seconds ago? No. Okay, that's not mine. Differentiate. And I learned all of this from good therapists, not the 4D collective who keeps thinking that they need protection from someone. I don't need protection. You're a person who doesn't know your nervous system or your brain. So I'm just going to know that I got a maladaptive child in front of me. Now, if it's instead a person who's healing trauma, that's not going to take place. They're going to say, you know what? When I have this stuff go on, I get really passionate. Or when you're with people and we're having a flow state and we're chit chatting and we get passionate, we say, we're getting passionate. Okay, cool, cool. And we keep talking. That's how it works. Okay. And then as we close on out, what else? Nah, not much more. But yeah, we know relationships. It's not the till death do you part. It's till walking to you decide together to walk. A clear conversation, obviously, is the one where death do you part. And what I love about being able to have moved through not only soulmates but also twin flames is the fact that every step of the way I've always said to myself, it will get more loving, and you just wait and see how much magic happens, Maria. And so that's actually exactly where I consistently can say, I look to the back, wait, you look, hey. And, the first time it happened, the first time, and then we'll end. My regular listeners and viewers, they know this story. And so my first serious relationship, obviously, again, I come from a monoamory world. So as a teenager, I didn't know about the opportunity to say, you know what, polyamory, because that's where we're at anyway. So it's really good because I like enjoying people. You like enjoying people. I know I'm not replaceable and you're not replaceable. You're one of a kind. And I am too, because I got a twin and she's still not me. So that's compersion for you. We're not afraid of losing anyone. You don't fit in my pocket. You're not a guarantee. I mean, for all you know, tomorrow I drop dead. I'm not a guarantee either. So it's not something I laugh about, by the way, but it's the truth. Nobody that is a whole 3-year old and a whole 1-year old is going to say, let me not say the truth. No, the truth is, I don't know, 24 hours. I mean, seriously. Okay, I'm not going to share this one because I know that some people get sensitive about the topic. But I thought about this thing that actually happened on TV and nobody noticed it. And I was like, wow. And I saw the clip and I was like, yeah, I wouldn't have noticed it either. That's just so sad. So, on that note, back to the story. 4 years, long term relationship. Finally, my lovely boyfriend made up his mind that he needed time to think what he wanted for his future. And then he ended up with his lifetime partner. And we are still, thank goodness, at a certain point, it all became clear that we're friends and that we are connected. And that was one of my biggest gifts, was when I got to have this exchange with my lovely girlfriend. And it was funny because remember, we've been talking about my awareness as a mystic. I'm going to integrate the woo stuff, divine feminine mystic here, sharing that there is this invisible balancing scale. I don't ever like to actually contemplate it, but I've had confirmation of it in my own ways. And then, my lovely divine masculines, they like to bring me what is sensible. And I like to say, leave me alone. And they learn to continue sharing with me what's sensible softly. So that's the beauty of complementary energies, is we learn to speak each other's love language so that we can continue to expand together as pieces of consciousness who care about ourselves beyond the solo self, our herd. Okay, so we support each other to not suffer, but to enjoy the love narrative and to work with those people who are still not learning how to calibrate within their prefrontal cortex. Now, this is the part of where we want to build 5D relationships, and those relationships of all people who want to heal their trauma, not the ones who want to project it. We're not going to have the ones who want to bring to us unfinished business in the way that we see people in drama land. Okay, so that's not for here. For here, it's all about functional adult love language and having harmony, because that's what people need. And we are able to be pachas when the heart is in it, because you're a human and I'm a human, and it's not about politics, religion, none of that. Gender, we don't bring any of those words. We bring in feelings, and the feelings get to be calibrated. The first thing is calibrate to your land of Jacob, neutrality. Otherwise, you're not an effective communicator. Don't matter. Wait, go for a walk, come back when you're calm. We'll wait for you. That's how it works. If you have areas that you still know you completely get upset with. The people who come and they just want to vent, they come and they do that and then they leave. The ones who want to grow, they don't want to vent. They want a safe space to unload. But it's not just unloading. You can see they're witnessing, they're processing. This is my child part. This is something that comes up because it's important. This is personal to me, Maria, or to whoever you are. I want to allow myself to explore it. That's the healing that happens in safe haven, secure based relationships. Nobody's judging it. Nobody is needing to ask more of the story. No, it's an actual moment. And then you can sit, hugging, silence, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But processing it is because the person says, I know this comes from somewhere. And that's your ownership. Okay. So you can only heal trauma with people who are safe havens, secure bases, because they're not teenagers. That means they know how not to give you a judgment or an opinion on whatever it is that comes out of your mouth. That's a somatic empath. So the good therapists are that, but not everybody goes to therapy, nor everybody needs that. Sometimes they just need a relationship that supports them, again, to expand consciousness. Because when you're processing it, you've shared it in a safe space, it doesn't come back where somebody's like, remember when you said that thing 10 years ago? That those people exist. Oh my gosh, I'll never forget when I got to meet grown-ups who are teenagers. Like, what the heck is this? Okay, so as I was closing out, this lovely teenage boyfriend, he comes around to break up with me a month later, and I'm like, wow, she did me the best favor ever. I'm so happy. I'm like so happy. Why? Because I met so many more people in the meantime, so many. I met more people and I started to date other people. And I was like, they know way better how to date than you did in 4 years of our relationship. And I was like, well, that's not really fair because, from 16 till 19 is 15 to 19. It's a child age group, even though I know in America they think of 15-year-olds, yeah, the teen thing. We're all children at that age. Do you know that your executive decision making function areas of the brain don't finish developing? For women, physically 25 is the age. For men, physically 27. So until that age, your brain is still developing. Which is why if I look back to my 11, 12, 13-year-old, yeah, perception, perspective, completely thinking we know everything, not true. 15 to 18, completely thinking we know everything, again, not true. By the time you're 18, okay, I'm starting to see better. By the time you're in your mid-20s, okay, I'm starting to have fun. Okay, by the time you're 30, now I'm having a good time. And this is what I love about growing up and being a person who can share all about moving into this area right here. Okay, so what I love is that I feel deeply and more intensely, and that's because I'm a restorative embodiment. I'm a mature, secure attachment woman. And the men who are here, they're going to be like, yeah, like when Sadhguru says he savors this wine, it's the same thing. So the depth of your embodied experience, secure attachment is not boring. It's the least of boring. What's ye is that biochemistry of fear that brings from the fight flight response of people who are teenage versions of themselves, because the fight is the 16-year-old. So those people who think they're badass, and we all will remember that energy. I know I can remember those energies. I can remember getting that limbic system and getting down to my prefrontal cortex, which is where from the waves, left, right, to no more waves, because I can stay centered. And that's where empowered women are at. So we are self-empowered women, men, days. Again, relationships are not a guarantee. They are a probability, and they're always going to be a secure connection guarantee for those of us who are functional adults, because we love, like the Rumi quote, we don't know separation because we're not looking at you with our eyes. We're looking at you with our heart and our soul. It's our inner child adult. I'm in a room with you wherever I may be. I'm not judging the person. I'm enjoying what is a moment of life because you have made me participant, and I too, and that's actually something that a person will appreciate, which is why I appreciate the human suffering love narrative. I send out that kind, I'm not going to call it kind intention. I send out that reminder to be humble, to be aware, to know that I experience life from human love, others experience it from another. It's called subjective reality from within a body and another body and a brain and another brain, and it's an embodied brain. Okay, so if you are an empowered woman, man or they, you will remember life is a subjective experience because that's the whole 3-year-old heart of you, a differentiated self, and you enjoy recalibrating to the mature version of you. And you enjoy then people who do that too. And those are the relationships we want to build. So people definitely who are on a journey to heal trauma need these types of relationships, but they're healing it, which means they don't want to bring to us their suffering and say, you have to put up with my venting and that I want to crap on men, women, days, politics, religion, the entire world, that I want to be in my sympathetic. You have to put up with it. I don't have to put up with it. I can if I want to. I can if I recalibrate. It all depends on how I'm feeling in that moment or what I want to do. Or, so again, we're obviously going to be there for each other, but nobody has to put up with anyone when it comes to relationships, because that's not what secure connections or secure attachment relationships are. If I'm in my regulated nervous system and you want to consistently bring me dysfunctional, dysregulated nervous system, and I make you aware that I'm not going to navigate in that wave. So again, it's always a conversation. It isn't a I'm shutting the door. It's going to be I don't have this way of mannerisms. A lot of ways that let me think. This is all types of relationships. I'm going to use the venting because I stopped venting on my own when I was beginning to notice I don't find it satisfactory. It's a waste of my time and it's a contradiction to who I am, because I like love, I like peace, I like harmony. I don't like all of this. I don't need to correct anyone, and I'm not suppressing it. I just don't want to do it anymore, because why am I doing it in the first place? I don't understand it. I've seen it. That's why I've seen it that's the other part. Let's set a good example. Self-empowered women, men and days. The restorative embodiment example is what I get to also bring you. So when I did this thing, nobody gave me their support. They said, but you're a human. You're not a Jesus, a Buddha. I said, well, one, they were human. But two, I'm not comparing myself. But three, that doesn't make, what? I'm saying to you, I don't want to vent. Can you help me or not? No, okay, don't worry. I'll figure it out. And I figured it out because your brain is yours. And I chose what I would do anytime I felt like venting. I substituted it, or I sat in silence for 2 minutes. It was something like that. But long story short, that's what the inner growth mindset and anything that you do really is all. It's how am I going to handle my empowered self. So what makes me even more laugh is when people don't realize they're not empowered when they're on their structural dissociation wheel, because that's what happens. Obviously, you begin to vent and you're in your angry zone. Your hippocampus is saturated by cortisol. Your biochemistry is a fear and blah energy poison, is what I felt. Some people think it's not, but they haven't spent enough time in a ventral vagal depth of passion, which is way different. My teacher in my Awakened Embodied Certificate course, he called it the angry Buddhist, which, I mean, I don't find it an angry Buddhist. It's just a restorative embodiment person who knows how to be in their ventral vagal while they're in their depth of emotion, because that's the part that people don't know, is that all those basic emotions, when you're in your ventral vagal, you're still feeling them, but you're empowered. You're not in your sympathetic. So you're not an angry 3-year-old with a 1-year-old with a teenager leading the house, which, as my teacher Sue Martin called it, it's an orphanage with no adult. And you got, the 8-year-old crying in a corner. You got the 1-year-old screaming in the crib. You got the 3-year-old who's just, poor thing. And the 16-year-old who wants to spite everyone because he's so frustrated, or she or they. And there's that inner family in the head, which has people doing it all over again. And as Dr. Daniel Fox presents, he says that's the comfort zone. They return to the comfort of the discomfort, but that's because that's how they began. This is where I'm accompanying more of that because of my courses. So people can get out of the maladaptive child wheel behavior if they are the ones who become aware either of attachment trauma information or with people that are consistently there. And then attachment trauma informed helps them to know things, and that gives them possibilities and probability of them saying yes. Well, here's where the relationships that are guaranteed are all of them. Sid, Manny, Diego, Cusco, Squirrel, right? We got mantles of mental health, mantles of yoga, mantles of spirituality, mantles of human suffering. So, you got plenty of that. But you also got the ones who are doing the Pacha dance, which is where, come on over here. So what I'm going to say is Most people think that emotions are supposed to be like the ones that you live in your teenager version. That's what I will tell you. So they think the maladaptive child behavior is how you feel. They haven't explored how you feel when you're an empowered person. I do know what it's like. So you don't have to do yoga. You don't have to do mindfulness, but at the very least, you have the need to start to differentiate between the emotions that come up and thoughts, and to pause them both, and to take a look at yourself. So to live spirituality, a life of meaning and connection beyond the solo self. So not to be a rude asshole, quote unquote, right? So not to use whatever curse words, but it's the emotion. It's not the words necessarily. So you want to begin to do that, and not use stories. When people use storytelling, they dehumanize their experience. They don't understand that their child parts are coming with them. So you're going to process that child part by being a child charged part, excuse me, okay? And that's just the basic. And so, anyways, relationships, we love them. They're not guarantees, they're probabilities. And for a securely attached, empowered woman, it's always going to be expanding to more love and more joy and more of everything, because you can't break trust. Trust is about expanding consciousness. And the part about when there are hurt feelings, yes, we can feel like trust is broken. We all learned these words. I did as a teenager. They're not accurate, they're not applicable as a woman. They're applicable for the ones who watch shitty dramas on TV and they want to keep on perpetuating this idea that you will tell each other everything or not. This is where it gets all into the whole split thinking. It's not black and white. Life is a bunch of rainbows. It's with gray and black and white, but it's a bunch of different aspects. And what's even more is if you're building a relationship, you're going to have conversations, and not with I assume to know everything about you, and not with I'm going to shut the door. No, it's actual conversations. I will end with Terry Real. I love Terry Real. He helps couples to get their unfinished business finished as separate human beings and then as a couple. But as he says, one, your partner and or partners are not your therapists. Exactly. And that's Patrick Tian shares that too. Two, you have functional adult conversations. Otherwise, you're not having a conversation, because the adaptive child makes it all about themselves. They are right or wrong. They want you to take their side. If you don't, they're going to give you the silent treatment and you're going to become the villain of their story. And that's just the basic. Okay, so if anybody ever gets a hold of Dr. Daniel Fox and they have potential borderline, they're going to see how to work with their split. Same thing goes with narcissists and learning how to work with their wounds. He's really great at explaining things and saying you can get out of these maladaptive child behavior responses and to get that core content and to work with the abandonment wound, the rejection wound, the narcissist wound, the injustice wound, shame, the fear, guilt, okay? And he, in fact, says shame and guilt, they're best friends. So when people take themselves seriously and they're healing, that's when they're going to be in relationships with any self-empowered woman, man, or they be. When we have, again, the ones who don't, we know how to say, okay, this is okay, that's not okay. We get to organize people in a way that either they'll be okay with it or not. And we're going to be appreciative of people as well. When somebody comes to me, even if they're venting, I'm not going to say stop venting. It's none of my business. If they're venting, I know how to recalibrate and leave the person be who they are. So the human suffering love narrative, they continue to use. Their sympathetic is what I call it, but I'm sure it's between the fight, flight, and anxious energy, and it's the modulated embodied self person. That's what they are. While the dysregulated, I believe, is the word for the other one, but I might be wrong. I forget my words, but there's restorative embodiment is what you see here. Modulated is when you're in your Braveheart type thing. And then dysregulated or dysfunctional, one of the two is like a flat line. It's more like, it makes me think of dorsal vagal. So when somebody's just so like no energy, there's even body types. You'll see what they look like when they're in that mode. And in fact, they don't have more energy because their body is consistently in distress, and they can get off it, but they have to participate to get off that one. So I was going to share one more story, but I forgot it. It slips my mind. So we're just going to leave it at that. But again, be kind, be compassionate, share, like, subscribe. Be back again with you soon, and have a great day.